Ready. Hi everyone, this is Ryan Hoying, the aka Massage Nerd. And today we have Nathan. Welcome.
Thank you.
So what is your titles? All of them?
Yes, all of them.
Yeah.
First, I'm going to start with Dad. Dad, I've got 4 wonderful kids and a beautiful wife and dog owner. And then we can go up to massage therapist. I've been a massage therapist for 12-something years, going on that direction. Continuing education provider. I've been teaching continuing education for 9-10 years now. Wow, that's scary. I just realized that. And I am the program director at Virginia College in Savannah, Georgia. I'm also on the National Board of the American Massage Therapy Association as a vice president.
Is there anything that you don't do?
Fart in public. Got to toss something out. That might be the thing that I have to go with. Yeah, no, I strive to do everything. I'm in the process with a friend, a co-presenter, Adam, to finish up an ethics book. We're continue pushing that, but we haven't found the right balance that we're looking for.
Yeah, and you used to do, what was the body exhibit, or what is that called
Still
again?
do, yes. Yeah. So Educated Touch is the continuing education provider that we are. And Body Worlds is a education opportunity that we have where Body Worlds travel around the country. And I go out and once in a while do a presentation with that as my classroom. Okay. And it's just so much fun because massage therapists don't get an opportunity in standard to have actual bodies halfway through dissection to figure out where things are and how deep a muscle is and how much fascia there is connected, which is kind of the difference between the 2 major displays out there, which is Body Worlds and Bodies the Exhibition. Bodies the Exhibition leaves a lot more of the fascia, the connective tissue on it. And so whenever I go out and I teach for that, I almost always present more of a fascial connective tissue presentation versus Body Worlds where they strip the fascia off. It's completely gone. Yeah. And you are now looking at simple musculature. Both of them are very artistic, and so you see the display and artmanship that goes into it. However, you then also get this understanding of how the body works, which their market for Body Worlds and Bodies Exhibition is general education. So they want Tom Johnson, who knows nothing, to be able to come in and kind of get a basic idea. Mm-hmm. However, we can use that same classroom that they're getting basic ideas, and I will show things like, hey, here's an example where this person doesn't have a psoas minor, or here's an example of someone not having plantaris, or these other muscles or other things that are going on, kind of pointing those out so people can see how that's going to work and how it's going to affect them. We also go into deep tissue concepts on why and how you'd be working on that muscle to create, and that's why you'd span this direction or span that direction to give ideas on how the body moves.
Yep. And where do you see the future of education going in the massage profession?
Well, it's already going there. Each time I say it's going to go this direction, either it turns around and bow faces, or it jumps 3 stages ahead. And so online education, most states allow a certain percent of your education to be online. Mm-hmm. And that is definitely a model that we're seeing as supportive. My challenge with online education for massage therapy is you then have a disconnect in many cases where here's an online class, you don't have the connection to the hands-on class. And so these hybrid models of online hands-on classes where you're getting one certificate and it says you got 21 hours of continuing education, 10 of these hours are online, and 11 of these are in person, maybe the way that we have to do it, because you can get a lot of the science-based knowledge in one aspect online and get through blogs and Facebook and all these other connections. You can get the internet-based knowledge to then present in a classroom where they've already introduced the concept and connected to that concept, and then they can go in and say, that's how that feels, because we don't have a feeling on the internet. There's no tactical knowledge, sadly, until that
well, you can feel the mouse.
But, yeah, exactly. Now, effleurage the mouth.
yeah.
Can you do a petrosauce? It's not gonna be great.
Chipotle.
The space bar.
Yeah.
Exactly. So there's a lot in how we can model this, and that's coming up. It's coming out. It's working. My online stuff is, yes, I've got the stuff with Body Worlds, but the other aspect is ethics, and I'm building and working with this online model of an ethics class. That when you come into ethics class, you've already got the concepts. You understand because you've prefaced all the ethical knowledge. Mm-hmm. Now the post-face is the application of it. And I think that's what every ethics class should be, is the application of ethics for that profession. And massage therapy, you know what? You can tell people for the rest of their life you should never sleep with a client. And that's true. I mean, in most states, it's illegal and you will not be able to have a standard practice if that's your model of practice. But if you can give them the why in the research, in the beforehand, so they kind of go, oh, okay, so here's the concerns, and then bring them into it and put them in that ethical dilemma. Put them in that point where they go, oh, yeah, that would suck if I had to deal with that.
Yep.
Or if that person has to deal with that. Had a student who came in and he says, well, okay, in our state, it says that marriage is between a man and a woman. I can't marry my client. I'm homosexual. And so it doesn't really matter, does it? Because that means I can hang out because it doesn't talk about dating, and so and according to the law, he would have been fine. But the meaning behind the law and the reason behind the law is what he was trying to dance around. And it's always better to look at why you're dancing around it and how you want it to look and how you want your practice to look. And so I gave him several different views, and he kind of went, oh yeah, I can't do that. But it was that piece where we all just kind of say, okay, well, what if, and maybe I can get away with, and if that's the direction you're going, that's where those ethics classes can step in and go, wait a second, why are you dancing? And that's a career-based decision where you kind of go, okay, I have a mentor, or I have a friend, or I have a colleague who I can say, hey, what about this? What do you think about? And we should all have that. If we don't, why not? That might be your first ethical dilemma. If you are wanting to be a lone soldier, there's problems.
Yep.
A lot of problems.
And what are some challenges you see of massage students these days?
Sorry for the satanic laugh. There's a lot of challenges. We're hitting a classroom. I'm just thinking right now of the students that I just started in a program, and we have the older students, the ones who are returning to the classroom. Then we have a larger number of vets who went off to war and have come back and are starting to get into the classroom or get back into the classroom. And then we have these students who are coming directly out of high school. And I don't care what school you're in or what you're training a person to do, that is a challenge. And for an instructor to be able to teach to all those models without prefacing what's going on, that can be a real hard time.
And that's what I had a hard time too, but I love teaching evenings because it typically was older working adults, and nothing against the younger generation, but the thing is with the daytime classes, it was all over. I mean, ages and stuff.
I would love to be able to see that we could separate a class by their separate classes by their learning style. So I've had younger students who quote old souls, and you're like, you can put them in an older class. If we could literally just kind of separate people by their learning style, by their learning experience, I think that would be a lot stronger for the classroom model. But the classroom model is a challenge right now. As we're looking at it, we should be doing a little bit of changing in how it looks to have an instructor standing with a chalkboard and talking about something, and then having people sit in chairs and then stand up and demonstrate something. That model is a challenge for most of us anyway.
And so many people are, they want us to teach to a test all the time. How do we break that?
I've got 3 instructors at the Virginia College that I work at. One of our instructors is heavily test-based, and he's like, you know what, I understand what needs to be taught and what you need to get licensed. Then we have another one who's like, you know what, I don't care if you can get licensed if you can't touch a person and work on them and be effective as a massage therapist. If you get licensed, you're not going to be in practice for 6 weeks. And the third one is all about the business, and she is outstanding. She's vibrant in saying, okay, so what is those social connections? How do you communicate? How do you present? And I think that's how we do it. You have to have a concept of you have to have testability. We have to meet basic standards for testability, especially when there's things that we're being tested on, like genetics. Guess what? No one in massage therapy is going to have to deal with genetics. It doesn't matter if it's transitioning from T to A or M to O or B, or that doesn't matter for massage therapy. But if we're tested on that for an exam, we have to know it. And so we have to have some testing, some education to that grade. However, as soon as we get past that, you then have to teach them to a quality of practice, to a quality of knowledge, and to experience, and to actually be able to step out and say, here's our practice.
Yeah, because when I was teaching, they wanted us so much just to teach the test. It was hard for people to branch out from that, but I did as much as I could to branch out.
And we have the spectrum of what a massage therapist means, which that's another challenge for education. Is that, okay, are we putting people out so they can work in the medical profession? Are we putting people out so they can work in a spa, so they can work with a sports team, so they can work with all these other things? And really, there's not an answer. There isn't. We can teach to a mid-ground, stable position to say, okay, yes, they know a little bit about spa, and they know a little bit about medical terminology, and they know a little bit about sports massage, and they know a little bit about this. But that's where continuing education has to get standardized and comfortable saying, yes, we are going to take people from these basic core principles to something greater.
Yeah, and there's so much continuing education out there. I mean, the average therapist, I think they get overwhelmed too, what they really want to focus on.
Well, and yeah, every massage therapist who comes out of being a massage therapist for greater than 3 years either thinks they have something that they want to add to the profession, so that they want to either teach continuing education, or they want to write a book about it, or they want to. It's the standard transition into helping the profession. Either you're going to start teaching to bring in more people just like you, or you're going to go to continuing education and you're going to teach new concepts that are going to develop people, or you're going to write something down so that the next generation can learn from you. It's a natural process. Do we do it right all the time? No, we don't. The blogosphere, since you're a friend of the blogosphere, and I'm still mixed on the blogosphere. The blogosphere is this shortcut to writing, which I see the good and the bad of. I see the good that it mass produces information so more people know and understand and can act on. However, then I see the bad because someone can say, hey, this is what I know to be true, if it is or not, and they can present it, and they can just jump on all four and say, here's the truth, and they can rally a mob real quick and say, okay, so here's what I believe, even if it's not true. And research-based knowledge, I think, needs to be presented on the internet, and people need to be slapped down for not knowing. And I think that would change the blogosphere and kind of going, oh yeah, maybe I should.
And I've been seeing that a lot
with
with like toxins and everything else. I mean, people are just,
You know, I don't care how much you massage. There's a lot of fallacy out there about how toxins move. And let's start looking at basic research that's out there and been out there for years.
And what would be nice too is an area where people can go to get the up-to-date information, because a lot of time, I mean, there are some places, I mean, it would be nice for
I'd like them to be publicized appropriately. And Massage Therapy Foundation works their tail off to kind of make sure that their international journal is seen and heard of, and how many people actually subscribe, a piddly amount. One thing that I'm going to, when I get home today, because I was reminded of it this morning, is my students need to be able to have a way to access research and kind of know about research. So I'm going to go into that first quarter, that very beginning student who's walking in the door, and say, okay, so here's where what's the international journals, the Foundation's International Journal, and link them to it so that they have that connection. Give them an assignment that says, research one of these things in this journal, or any of the past journals, so that you can say that you know some basic information and what you can quote. I am sick of, I have to say I've done it myself, saying or hearing people say, oh yeah, I once heard or I saw this, and oh yeah, my friend told me that, or oh, the man did this or did that. That's not going to work anymore. It's not going to fly. We can't have that fly and be okay with it. We need to say, well, where did you get that research? 95% of all statistics are made up on the fly. Yeah, that's a problem. That's a problem. I think that one was made up too.
Yeah. It's 94%.
And 94%, and then that one that popped it up over. So I mean, it's a challenge that our profession has, but it's a challenge really with our whole culture as well. It's not just massage therapy. America is changing. Yeah. And with that change in America comes these other things like massage therapy into our local health care, and how is each state going to take that on? How is that going to look? It's going to be different from what we know today. And you know what? Even if ACA comes in January 1st and we're looking at December of next year, it's going to be different in that 12-month span for each state, because things are needing to be implemented in a timely fashion, and we don't have the knowledge or the time.
And when are you going to run for president?
Yeah, whatever. I'm not touching that question. I plead the fifth. No, I always have a 5-year plan, and if that's an opportunity that I get, then I'm more than willing to step into it. But I am loving the vice president position.
I thought the president of the United States.
United States?
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's...
Because I'd vote for you.
That's a 40-year plan. That's not in the next 10 years. I got to get a lot more gray hair. Yeah, I laugh. I look at all the presidents and that 4-year time, that 8-year time that they survive, and you look at them and they've aged dramatically. I want to be old and half dead before I have to go through that transition of aging. So then hopefully they've figured out how to do face masks that actually de-age you completely. But we'll have to see how that goes.
And how do people get a hold of you?
Nathan@educatedtouch.com is my personal email, and educatedtouch.com is the website. It's going through a couple of transitions, but it's there and does have all the information out there. So definitely contact me if you have any questions about education, about how you're doing it. Ethics, really, if anyone has an ethical dilemma, I think that's the biggest thing that I man, are ethical questions, where someone says, I got a question, I kind of had this experience, and what are your thoughts? And I don't really give them my thoughts, I give them what their thoughts are in reverse. Okay. So then they kind of come up and think. I do. It's a horrible process. I force them to figure out why they're doing what they're doing and how they... And so I want people to understand why they're choosing the choices that they are. And so it's really fun to kind of see that and kind of present that back to them. So feel free to give me a call. I still have my Oregon phone number, and I'll probably keep that forever. 503-766-2480. And that's my contact for education.
Call them at midnight anytime, okay?
Yeah, it'll be muted, so go for it.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Ryan. I appreciate it.
Thanks. Thanks, everyone.
Sorry.